Alien Covenant has finally been released in theaters this weekend. I've seen the film, and I wanted to share some thoughts with you guys in this review. Though I guess you could call it more of a first impressions, initial thoughts kind of review, because I know all the other Alien movies so well, and this one is brand new, so I'm sure I'll be watching it many more times. And who knows, my opinions could change, but here's generally what I think of the movie having seen it for the first time. And just a warning, there will be spoilers here, but nothing too major, so if you haven't seen the movie, you've been warned. One of the things I've come to love most about the Alien franchise is how each movie feels like a different experience. Each with a different style and tone, and has had contributions from immensely talented directors like James Cameron, David Fincher, and of course Ridley Scott, who has returned to direct Alien Covenant, making it the third film he's directed in the series. It's very much a sequel to Prometheus. The story is indeed connected, but it's not treading the same waters. Scott is a director who's been around long enough to admit there is a big challenge in keeping the series interesting. And most importantly, keeping the iconic alien monster scary and fresh. Alien Covenant goes to great efforts to still keep us guessing about this creature, with bizarre and fascinating ideas that only the science fiction genre can make possible, and for the most part is successful with it. And I can say Ridley Scott rose up to that challenge. I admire that greatly, and I can say overall, I really enjoyed the film. At its core, it's the familiar kind of concept we've seen before, a group of unknowing victims set down on a mysterious planet, and of course, bad things happen and gruesome monsters tear them apart. After all these years, the series still embraces the pulp sci-fi roots from which it emerged, and it's very much a monster movie, and just as a film in general, standing alone, it works on that level. And the story is contained enough that an audience member doesn't really need to be familiar with the Alien series, or even Prometheus, to be able to follow the plot. The story here revolves around the mission of the crew of the Covenant, who have mapped out the coordinates of a habitable planet with the intention of setting up a colony consisting not only of the crew, but a precious cargo of colonists and human embryos. After an event that disrupts the crew's hypersleep, resulting in damage to the ship, a substantial loss of cargo, and the death of the Covenant's captain, the crew intercepts a rogue transmission, and they discover an undocumented planet that just happens to be absolutely perfect for their colony, and much closer, and they decide a survey is in order. This planet, of course, happens to be occupied by David, who's been very busy over the last few years and has some horrific surprises in store for the unsuspecting colonists. I can tell you pretty confidently right now that Alien Covenant certainly won't be invulnerable to similar criticisms that people also had of Prometheus. You may find yourself questioning character motivations and actions and stupid decisions like why would this character do this or do that or walk into that corner or open this door, etc. So it's still restricted to a lot of the conventions of the horror genre, almost including scenes like that by necessity to provide the obligatory thrills and gore while the story moves along. So if those kinds of things bugged you about Prometheus, you'll probably have some of the same problems with Covenant, but I'd say to a much lesser degree, with at least no characters attempting to hug and kiss space cobras. So there's that. But I don't know, for me personally, I've never been too bothered by those kinds of things. I always just kind of think back to the anecdote Tippi Hedren had of Alfred Hitchcock. For The Birds, they were filming a scene where her character hears a noise, slowly walks upstairs, and opens the door to reveal the scare of the film. Hedren asks, "Why would my character go off on her own, all alone, to investigate this strange noise? What's my character's motivation to do this?" Hitchcock looked her right in the eye and without skipping a beat replies, "Because I told you to." So fair enough, and to Ridley Scott's credit, I've always considered him a big picture kind of director. Not that his films don't have wonderful nuances and details, but Scott's biggest strength is in being a visual storyteller with broad concepts, not intimate ones. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. The film is marvelous visually, with great use of locations that we haven't quite seen before in these movies. The lush, green, thriving planet visited by the crew of the Covenant is undoubtedly a lot more visually engaging than the barren LV-233 of Prometheus. In contrast to the bright open spaces, there's some great scenes in the cold, dark, cavernous lair of David, and needless to say, many ominous spaceship corridors. What we have with Alien Covenant is this wonderful monster movie filled with fascinating and nightmarish creatures, and altogether a well-made sci-fi horror thriller. But it offers just a little bit more, with themes of belief and creation, and the belief of creation, much like Prometheus before it. Shifting the focus to the David character as the witness to this universe has been an interesting choice for the series, and I think it offers a larger overall scope to the series in having this immortal android as kind of the anti-hero and emerging from the periphery of the story twice now, when our instinct seems to be to gravitate towards the female leads, such as with Shaw in Prometheus and Daniels here. Make no mistake though, this is David's story, and I think it's fitting that the kind of being that would cohabitate with the xenomorph creatures would have to be inhuman and an android such as David is. Whether David eventually possesses madness or delusions of grandeur or other influences, David's intentions with the creature go far beyond fighting to stop them like any human would. But rather he has a hunger to learn of them and to aid in their creation and biological perfection as he sees it. There are times in the film where David indeed feels like a mad scientist right out of the classics, raising a glass to gods and monsters. And the monsters are great. We see the Neomorph featured pretty heavily, which was great to see, and for me at least, it didn't disappoint. Much like anybody else, I don't think anything will ever top the classic Xenomorph design, but at the same time I appreciate the inclusion of something new, and I think the Neomorph is given just the right amount of screen time, just enough to create an impact. It gives us an idea of how the creature functions, and it does give us something new, but still lets the classic version of the creature shine when the timing is appropriate. I thought it was a successful addition, and in fact the Neomorph may be the highlight of the movie for me. It's a severely aggressive and horrifying creature right from its birth. It seems like it's a lot more bloodthirsty and rabid, and its presence brought a lot of chaos into the film, which led to some great moments. And the design was very creepy and very effective, and very much like something we'd see from H.R. Giger. And for the most part, the effects were very impressive, and aside from some shots here and there, the CGI used to bring the Neomorph to life is pretty convincing. The classic form of the xenomorph we all know and love makes an appearance, of course, though I guess you could call it a protomorph if you prefer. I'm sure its classification may end up a debate among fans, but with what we've seen from David's experiments and how the creature finally forms, I think it's fair to say there's still a missing link somewhere along the xenomorph DNA line, so it isn't quite the same creature as we saw as the big chap in 1979's Alien. With modern effects, they're definitely able to show off a lot more with the alien, give it more fluid movement, more threatening actions, more humanly impossible flexibility, and that's all great to see. But admittedly, the CGI isn't perfect. The design of the creature itself is great. There are some glorious shots displaying the creature. It's just that not every time we see the creature do we get a completely flawless special effect, which is disappointing. Because I was under the impression that there would be more suit and animatronic work to contribute to the alien's appearance, and I didn't see much of that, if any, in the final product. CGI creatures and effects aside, the humans of the film and the androids are portrayed by a very talented cast. Michael Fassbender pulls off a great dual role as both David and Walter, which he does seamlessly. For example, there's this great scene where David shows Walter how to play the flute and enters this engaging conversation about humans and androids and art and creation, and you realize how different and unique each of these characters are, and the subtleties that Fassbender brings to them, each with their own attitude, demeanor, and suspicions of one another. He was brilliant in the role, and I'm glad the series has the credibility of such a great and talented actor. Katherine Watterson as Daniels and Billy Crudup as Orem are both really good in their roles as well. Watterson as the Covenant Captain's widow, determined to keep her husband's dream alive, and Crudup as the next-in-line captain, uncertain of the crew's confidence in him, being a man of strong faith. I feel like we could have gotten more out of these characters. Each have interesting aspects about them that don't entirely develop. I think that's because they seem to be taking turns as the main characters, so neither are given a heavy focus. Again, the film ultimately belongs to David, and the focus eventually shifts to him. But generally, their characters were well done, and I thought Watterson and Crudup did solid performances. Danny Mcbride was also very good. Not once did he feel out of place or that he should be the comic relief or something like that. He had some casually funny lines, but they were true to the character's personality. And it's most definitely a dramatic role, and I think Mcbride nailed it. He did a great job, and I'd like to actually see some more serious roles from him in the future. Overall, I really enjoyed the movie. Is it the be-all, end-all of Alien movies? No, it's not. You still can't top the original, but it is worthy of the series, and the possibilities it leads into are very exciting, and will hopefully make for some incredible new Alien movies, and of course we all know that Ridley Scott is already preparing the next one. It's an exciting time to be an Alien fan, and who knows what the future holds. After Covenant and having an appreciation for its abstract ideas and generally having a good time with the genre-specific set pieces, I do think it's time to take the series a step further. At this point, I think it's fair to say we've seen enough of scientists landing on mysterious planets. I think we could move forward from that and show some new things. Ridley Scott is an ingenious director, but he can also be a frustrating one. He's often very liberal with certain ideas within the story, but he stays too close to convention for the story itself. But as Covenant's ending suggests, David may be taking us to a brave new world, and I'm very excited to see what's next. So those are my initial thoughts on Alien Covenant. Imperfect, but a good movie. I'd say I'd give it a 7 out of 10 if I had to rate it. What would your rating be? Have you seen the movie? Comment below and share your thoughts. I'd love to hear from you. And as always, thanks for watching, I really appreciate it, and if you like this video, please be sure to give it a like, and you can also hit the subscribe button to stay up to date with all the latest from the channel. You can also follow Alien_Theory on Twitter and Alien Theory YT on Facebook for more, and until next time, this is Alien Theory, signing off.